Good morning, everybody. May the peace of the Lord be with you. I hope you're looking after yourselves, and even though you have to stay at home, I hope you're still following our golden rules. This term, my assemblies will feature stories from the major world religions. But first, I'm going to begin with the story of Easter, the most important time in the Christian calendar. At the Jewish Passover feast, Jesus had his last meal with his disciples. He told them wonderful things about God and his promises to those who love him. Then Jesus gave bread and a cup for them to share. These were to remind them that Jesus' body and blood were given to bring forgiveness for their sins. Then Jesus told his friends that he would be betrayed and they would run away. "I won't run away," Peter insisted. "Before the rooster crows, you will deny me 3 times, Jesus said. Later that night, Jesus went to pray in the Garden of Gethsemane. The disciples who were with him fell asleep. "O my Father," Jesus prayed, "let this cup pass from me. Nevertheless, not as I will, but as you will." Suddenly, a mob marched into the garden, led by Judas. Jesus did not resist, but Peter cut off a man's ear. Quietly, Jesus touched the man's ear and healed him. Jesus knew his arrest was part of God's will. The mob took Jesus to the high priest's house. There, the Jewish leaders said Jesus should die. Nearby, Peter stood beside the servants' fire and watched. Just then, a rooster crowed. It was like God's voice to Peter. Remembering Jesus' words, Peter wept bitterly. Judas was sorry too. He knew Jesus was not guilty of any sin or crime. Judas took back the 30 pieces of silver, but the priests wouldn't take it. The priests brought Jesus before Pilate, the Roman governor. Pilate said, "I have found no fault in this man," but the mob kept crying, "Crucify him! Crucify him!" Finally, Pilate gave in and sentenced Jesus to die on a cross. The soldiers punched Jesus, spat in his face, and they whipped him. They made him a cruel crown of long, sharp thorns and pressed it on his head. Then they nailed him to a wooden cross to die. Jesus always knew he would die that way. He also knew that his death would bring forgiveness for those who put their trust in him. 2 criminals were crucified beside Jesus. One believed in him and went to paradise. The other didn't. After hours of suffering, Jesus said, "It is finished," and died. His work was completed. Friends buried him in a private tomb. 2 days later, early in the morning, some of Jesus' disciples found the stone had been rolled away from the grave. When they looked inside, Jesus was no longer there. One woman stayed, weeping by the tomb. Jesus appeared to her. She rushed back joyfully to tell the other disciples, "Jesus is alive! Jesus has come back from the dead!" Soon, Jesus came to the disciples and showed them his nail-scarred hands. It was true. Jesus was alive again. He forgave Peter for denying him and told his disciples to tell everyone about him. Dear God, the world feels strange right now. Some people are worried that they may become ill. Others are anxious for their family and their friends. Be with them and help them to find peace. We pray for the doctors and nurses and scientists and all who are working to discover the right medicines to help those who are ill. We thank you that even in these anxious times, you are with us and help us to keep safe. Amen.